Wednesday. It's been raining since Sunday. Hopefully today's the last day, but I gotta go check on the cows again this morning. But it's gonna be pretty crazy up there, a lot of water. So hopefully we don't get stuck. I've never seen it this wet, ever. Well, there's some of the girls. They don't seem like they've been washed away. Look at the calves. Oh wow, look at all this water. My goodness. Let's see how badly this is washed out. That ditch wasn't there on Saturday before the rain started. And this one wasn't near as deep. It's a real shame. The rain was so hard because the trees were just getting perfect. And as you can see, the rain's knocked down a ton of the beautiful leaves. I think going into this weekend we would have been at peak color. But there are going to be a lot of leaves on the ground. Oh, look at those deer up there. Two does. That's a big doe in the front. I guess everybody's got to eat. I've been reading about it, but I've also seen it just being out here on the farm. We've really got a bumper acorn crop this year. And so the deer they've been getting fat. I know the hunters hate it because the deer, they come out and they eat for an hour, and then they're fat and happy and they go back and they nap. So the hunters really don't get a good look at deer for too long. But those deer, they must have been bedded down the past couple of days to come out during the day. It's about 10 o'clock now, so it's not real early. But look at all these acorns down here, or akins as my grandma used to call them. Look at this mama cow. Oh my goodness, it's wet down here. Hey mama cow. Don't be scared. It's okay. There's a little creek down there in the bottom. It's just a tributary to Bold Branch Creek. But I've never seen it with that much water in it. Oh, look at all these leaves on the ground. What a shame. And it is slick out here. Good night. These cows are pretty jumpy, especially in this weather. You know, when it's windy and rainy, it messes with their hearing and their sight. And so, they're not really into the whole fight or flight. They're more in just the flight mechanism. So they're going to be on guard today and pretty worked up. Not to mention the pressure, the barometric pressure, and all that other good weather stuff really affects them more than it does people. But this is good grass growing weather, that's for sure. I'd love to know how much rain we've gotten. Somebody said from yesterday evening at dusk until today at 12 we were expecting to get 2 inches of rain. Man, they are worked up. See, most of these mamas have calves. We got about 19 calves on the ground and 9 or 10 more to go. And so not only are they just worked up because of the weather, they're also worked up because they got babies and everything. I have never seen it this wet out here. Hopefully I'm not tearing it up too bad. You can see where during soft weather we tear this little road up in when it's wet. I certainly wouldn't bring a tractor out. There's a very good chance the tractor could get stuck. And here's Bold Branch. Oh my goodness, it's never this high. Look at how muddy it is. All that erosion. And all that sediment and stuff is just going to build up in here and eventually get swept out to sea. Which means the state's going to have to dredge more and stuff like that. But this is wild. Man, if we had this much water flow every day, we could start doing a lot of great fishing. One reason we're more prone to flash flooding on the farm now than we were even 20 years ago is we're bordered on all 4 sides by major housing developments, big neighborhoods. And so the water just runs off their driveways and yards and roads and tops of their house. And it gets dumped down into Bold Branch, and so it undercuts the bank, and then the bank collapses, which takes even more sediment downhill. We're actually in the Stanton River watershed. So this is Bold Branch Creek right here, and then it goes from here to the Big Otter River, and then the Big Otter goes into Stanton. Stanton's also known as the Roanoke River in some parts of the state. And the Stanton goes down, and I don't know if the Stanton joins something before going out in North Carolina, but all this water will end up going in North Carolina. I worked for a guy when I was in high school, and he owned a farm at the base of a mountain, and he said if a water droplet fell on his side of the mountain, it would end up in North Carolina, and if it fell on the other side, it would end up in the Chesapeake. You know, the James, of course, flows into the Chesapeake, but we're not in the James River watershed. I'm about 15 minutes from downtown Lynchburg, so that shows you just how close we are to the James, but the water just follows the topography of the ground. Let's go see if we can find the rest of these cows. Let's see if we can get across here without dying. Oh, that's deep. A little bit deeper than that, and I probably wouldn't have tried it, but the creek really cuts the whole farm in half. So even when the weather is fine, we don't really have a choice but to cross the creek. So you have to get pretty smart about when it's safe and when it's not, but that wasn't a big deal. And now to get back, we have to cross the creek again. But I don't know if you can hear it on the video. I'm sure you can see it in some places, but there's so much standing water, and my tires are just, it's like driving on water. It's like we're hydroplaning. 9 miles an hour and I'm hydroplaning. Okay, there's a little tributary that flows into the creek. Oh my goodness, look at that water rushing down there. There's no telling what all it's going to do. It'll probably rip out my water gates. We have to rebuild them. Usually in the summer after some of these flash floods come through, but very, very rarely this time of year. I mean, it's October 15th. 15th or 16th? 15th. And we're getting this kind of rainfall. Today's a little more seasonable as far as temperature, but yesterday got up to like 76 or something. I mean, it was warm yesterday. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's a more shallow creek crossing there than the other. See if there are any cows over here. I think most of them are in that field we saw when I first came through the gate, but I always like to make sure. You know, during this weather, a lot of the moms will go into labor. And like I said, we've got 8 or 9 mama cows that have yet to have given birth. And so it's something with the pressure changes they give birth. We're on a fall calving cycle, which I like more than a spring, because the weather isn't. The calf is 4 or 5, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 months old before the really tough winter weather happens. If you calve in the spring, the problem people run into is, those calves are being born in snowstorms, and you got to bring them inside. And if you can get them through that first month or so, especially your late February, early March calves, you should be good. Now, a lot of people spring calve because it's cheaper. Within a month or two of the calf being born, the spring grass starts growing, and then you got grass off and on, even during the real hot part of the summer. And so by the time they go into the winter, they're just not eating a lot, or they're eating more, but they're good and healthy. With us, we have to feed those calves hay. The nice thing is the calf is going to drink milk from its mom until it's weaned, and we like to wean around 7 months old. So we'll wean in the spring. But a young calf like that isn't going to eat that much hay. He's going to get the vast majority of his nutrition from his mom's milk, as opposed to just eating hay. And I was reading a report the other day that said hay is the biggest decider between a farm operation being profitable and not, just because hay is so expensive. I think most people that are producing hay would be better off buying it. I honestly think when you factor in fuel, labor, depreciation on the equipment, your payments on the equipment, I think it's actually much more economical just to buy it. But old habits die hard. Agriculture is really prizes tradition, which is good and bad. There are a lot of wonderful traditions that we should keep. The family farm being one of the strongest, most enduring, and best traditions that we have. The flip side is, though, it kind of takes someone with a little more modern approach and a little more economics and business background to really run a really successful farm. Because anybody can put cows out on pasture. Speaking of pasture, this is starting to get a little thin. I need to rotate the cows off of this. We got about another 120 acres that are just about ready to go for them. And we'll give this grass here a break for 3 or 4 weeks. Let it respond. There's my little house. I'd love to be able to move back in there. I've got to get somebody to come out and check on it. Because all the moisture we've had in the past year or two, I've started to get a mold issue. And I got to get that fixed before I can move back in. Well, being a farmer is hard, but it sure beats the heck out of spending all day in an office. I've got a bunch of friends. They started working right out of college, and I'm sure they enjoy their jobs, but they're working in cubicles, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's value in work in general, and certainly any job, but unfortunately I don't have to do that. And after getting a little taste of this kind of lifestyle, I mean, it's hard work, but I can't imagine wanting to do anything else with my time. It's so rewarding to do this, for one thing. I mean, I can see these animals every single day of their lives. One thing that was important for me was really getting to see the seasons change. And just the past 6 or 7 weeks has really illustrated that really nicely. Because we went from super hot weather. I mean, it was 95% humidity and highs in the low 90s every day, to weather like this. You see the trees change, and you see them change incrementally every single day. Most folks that aren't as fortunate to have an outside job, they might go out fishing or hiking or camping on the weekend, and so they see the trees change every week, but they don't see what happens Monday through Friday. They only see it on Saturday and maybe Sunday. So I'm really fortunate, that's for sure. But it's a lot of work. It's not I know it's a really romantic lifestyle when people think of farming and spending their lives on the farm, but it's tough, and it's not for everyone. And there's no shame in the people that it's not for. Oh, look at those turkey. Well, that's a cow, but see those turkey? Say we ride over there. Good gosh, we've seen cows, we've seen turkey, we've seen deer. We haven't seen people, which is always nice. Oh. That must have blown out the other day when I was out here working. I wonder how long that takes to degrade. I've been meaning to stop using plastic water bottles and just refilling like an Nalgene, but easier said than done. And there's the bull. Okay, there he is. So it looks like everyone's here. Look at these trees, they are getting pretty. So this nasty stuff right here, is called broom sage, and I really need to bush hog this field. The cows are really working the grass here, but you can see they've laid on this, and you can see where they've eaten, where they've deposited their manure. I mean, look at how good this is for the soil. That's the real pretty thing about rotational grazing, is they eat, they pee, and they poo in the same field that they're in. And so that puts so many more nutrients right back into the soil. There's a lot of research that says that cows, when they eat, will put 90 to 95% of the nutrients that they took right back in the soil. And so it really doesn't depreciate the soil value. And that's the beauty of rotational grazing. And so you really and if you do rotational grazing for years, you actually see an increase in your soil. And your grass gets better, which if your grass is getting better, it means your cows are getting better. You can have more cows on the same piece of property, and you can raise better tasting, better looking, healthier, happier cows. I had somebody recently ask me, because we don't use any antibiotics out here, I've never had to. If we had to, say an outbreak of pink eye or something like that, if we had to save their life, we certainly would. But we wouldn't sell them at the market. We'd pull them out of our natural grass-fed program. I wonder if there's a new calf, and just sell them at the livestock market. But one way we stop the spread of diseases like that is when we rotationally graze them. We don't want the grass getting too high because it'll get in their eyes. It cuts down on parasites, things like that. Yeah, look at that little baby. That one's about 2 or 3 weeks old. They're all getting ear tags here in the next week or so. I just need to get the help. Look at that little one. He's adorable. He's got a pouty face. He looks like he's pouting. And there's Mama giving him a good lick. They do like this weather. They'd much rather be cool and wet than hot and dry, and so would I. It's a lot of rain for the ground to take in at one time, but we always need the rain. Maybe not quite so much in such a short amount of time, but beggars can't be choosers. I know the farmers out in California would certainly appreciate some of this water. I'd give some of it to them. I mean, it's sitting good when it's just pooling. Like I said, it just strips so much topsoil away, and it all just goes out and ends up down by the coast and out on the beaches, and it takes all our nutrients away. You know, you spend years and years and years building up your topsoil. I mean, it regrows at a tremendously small amount every year. And then one storm comes along, and in 4 or 5 days of rain, 10, 15, 20 years of work can go down the drain. That's why cover crops are so good. If we were running if we were growing produce and things like that, you'd want to utilize cover crops if you didn't have any crops on a field. One, to put nutrients back into the soil, but the other is just to stop the erosion and runoff. Both from an environmental perspective, but it's also just good land management practice and good economics, honestly, because you'll be able to grow better stuff. You can get away from using nitrogen and other fertilizers. You can instead put nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash into the soil almost for free just by using something natural, instead of having to call Southern States and pay $3,000 or $4,000 for them to do, 30 or 40 acres. It's probably more expensive than that for 30 or 40. I bet it's up in the $6,000 or $7,000 range. Now, there are no cows down here, but I just wanted to drive down and look at how pretty the trees are. I think the rain's slowing up a little bit. They said it'll go through 1 or 2 today and then maybe stop. We'll see. They've been wrong before. It's a tough job though, being a weatherman. Look at that. What do they say? God's the best artist? Have to agree. I got a cousin who can take really, really pretty pictures. I mean, he's good. And I've been texting him to come out and see if he could take some pictures in the next couple of days. And I hear photographers like when the light conditions are like this sometimes, as opposed to just a bright sunny day isn't always the best light. But I don't know, I'm pretty good with camera on Instagram, but not when it comes to a real camera. And I don't really have the time to learn anything, or to get a new hobby. I'd rather be fly fishing, honestly. I got a bush hog, all this thistle, that's what all that dead stuff is. All the seed heads are dead, but it's just good pasture management. The problem with this hill, I don't know how it looks on camera, but it's really, really steep. The ATV is about the only thing I'm comfortable driving across it. You can drive up and down, but that's a lot of load on a big tractor going up and down the hill. A lot of fuel, that kind of thing. The best bush hogging is the bush hogging you don't have to do. And if you manage your pastures tightly and you manage your cattle and their grazing, you can eliminate almost all bush hogging, other than really aesthetic bush hogging, up at the road, to reopen paths, that kind of thing. If you manage your grazing cycle well, you can cut down on your bush hogging. See, cows will run into a pasture and the first thing they'll start eating is their favorite stuff. It's just like a person at a buffet. The first thing you're going to get, especially at a limited buffet, is your favorite stuff. So say you go to a birthday party and there's pizza, ice cream, and hot wings. And you really like hot wings, you're going to grab hot wings first and then come back for the pizza and breadsticks and all that other stuff. Cows are the same way. They'll run in and they'll eat what they consider the most tender and the most flavorful stuff is. And that's usually small sprouts. They really like field oats, that kind of little stuff like that. And then after that, they'll start eating what they don't want to eat quite as much. The problem when you do continuous grazing, which is where you just put them on a plot of land and just leave them there, they're there 365 days out of the year. They only eat the stuff that they want, especially if the land's big enough or there are a small enough number of cattle out there. They'll only eat what they want, and so the stuff that isn't as good, or even the weeds, which have no nutritional value or a cow won't eat them, that just starts to grow hog wild. And so that's why you got to come through and cut your pasture. And the nice thing about rotational grazing is you can squeeze the cattle on a smaller amount of land and really make them develop an appetite for some of that stuff that they don't like quite as much. And the way you do that is you put them on a small piece of land, make sure they have water and adequate forage. There's enough there for them not to starve, of course. And you just leave them there for a couple of days and you say, hey, there's still forage out here for you to eat. You gotta eat it. And if you don't, you're gonna be hungry. Cows are a lot like children that way. If you let them make all the decisions, it's gonna be chaos and pandemonium. But if you give them, and they're like children too, if you try to force them to do something, there's gonna be chaos and pandemonium. But if you gently suggest them to do something, and you show them how to do it, and the most important thing is to make it seem like it's their idea, then they'll go ahead with it. Kind of like women. If you make it seem like their idea, the men folk won't get in any trouble. I might get in trouble for that one. Sorry, ladies. And look at this mama cow. She must have gotten tired of her baby. I know. Sometimes you just want to be by yourself. I can't blame you. Well, you have a good day. Have a good nap. I'm sure you're just about done eating for the day. Go find somewhere dry and warm if you can. And rest up. I'll see you this evening when I come check on you. See you, Mama. She's a good looking mama. She's raising her second calf. Look at that little calf drinking milk. I don't know how easy that is to see on this video. Well, it's amazing how much water's out here. I certainly couldn't get back there with a tractor, and I certainly couldn't haul cattle. Oh, wrong button. I downshifted instead of upshifting. That's where that noise is from. Okay, let's go down here and inspect the cattle pen. These are black walnuts. I know you can eat them if you want and make stuff out of them, of course, but I don't eat them. We just let them fall. I guess squirrels and that kind of thing. Maybe deer eat them. But my dog's favorite game is for me to, I take a stick and I hit it. I'm a lefty. And I'll hit it and she'll go bounding after it. We call it walnut baseball. Oh my goodness, look at all this water. So when I haul cattle to the processor, I bring the truck and trailer down here. I loop around. My sister also rides a horse down here, but those jumps got knocked over by the wind last night. And then we'll back the trailer up to here. Usually this is closed. This was made into a pen to hold some unruly cattle recently. We'll put this panel up. We'll open it up. We'll run them down the chute, and they'll hop in and we'll drive away. But man, this is about the wettest I've ever seen it down here. I mean, look at this. This is going to take a week to go away. Look at all this standing water. You know, everything, as you can see from the topography, everything drains down here. It's just like a big bowl. And we got really good stone right underneath us. Actually, in the 50s or the 60s, Boxley, which is a big stone company around here, they approached my great-grandmother, I think it was, about selling the farm and turning it into a quarry. And she said in no uncertain terms that she wouldn't be the owner of a big hole in the ground and chase them off her porch with a broom. So we're certainly thankful to her for that. The farm wouldn't be here if she hadn't done that. Probably have a little more money, but money isn't everything, that's for sure. But I certainly wouldn't be able to enjoy this farming lifestyle and continue the farming tradition out here. Well, folks, that's all for today. I hope it didn't bore you. Mainly just going to check on my cows after a bunch of rainy days. Hopefully I can get this edited and put up fairly soon. I'm not real good. I've got a Mac and I've been using iMovie to edit it. Another thing that I'm having trouble with is understanding, because I've got the protective waterproof case on it, I'm not real sure how loud I need to speak for the camera to pick it up, especially when I'm driving. So some parts may have been hard to hear, and I apologize about that, but hopefully we'll be getting better. I'm going to start trying to post 2 or 3 videos a week, just the stuff we do around here. So if you have any ideas, just leave them in the comment section. Thank you, and have a great day.